another water, Chris? I'm getting nervous. Actually, I'm mayor.
I love that. Never. Probably celebrating Thanksgiving here, right? That's a classic. That represented the NASCAR track. Yeah. Negotiated his Craftsman Truck Series track game. His pay.
Make sure everyone's mic's on. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the January 23rd City Council Commission meeting of Daytona Beach Shores. Sherry, can you take a roll call, please?
Mayor Miller,
Here.
Vice Mayor Flores,
Here.
Commissioner Tottos,
Here.
Commissioner Carr,
Here.
Commissioner Dembinski.
Here.
We have quite a few people in the audience today. It's nice to see everyone. Thank you for coming out to our commission meeting. And for those of you joining us online, thank you as well. And Reverend Melissa from the Drive-In Christian Church, can you please lead us in this evening's prayer?
Sure. You all stand and pray with me if you are able. Creator of all things, we thank you for the many blessings that the city of Daytona Beach Shores has. I pray for our leaders who have been serving in office, as well as those who are being sworn into office this evening. Guide and direct them to make wise and good decisions, which are always in the best interests of the city and its residents, as well as visitors. We give thanks for the freedom to speak up, the opportunity to listen, as well as to be heard, and for the gift of democracy and the freedom to voice our opinion through our votes. Even if we differ from these leaders, we pray for them and the work that they do, that it would be blessed by you. We also cover our first responders in the city and ask for your protection to surround them. And thank you for calling these men and women to serve our community, whether a first responder, our mayor, our city commissioners, or the city staff. We thank you for the good work that they have done and will continue to do. We are grateful for them. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Reverend Melissa. Okay, we have an exciting time this evening. As you probably know if you've been following us, we did have a resignation of two of our very fine commissioners at the end of December, well, at the end of 2023. And last week, we appointed two new commissioners. So I'm proud to introduce Commissioner Mark Card and Commissioner Stefan Dubinsky, and we will be having a swearing-in ceremony, an official. We did have an unofficial one last week, but we wanted their family and friends to be here to congratulate them, so that's why we're doing it this evening. Usually do it down there?
Yes.
Okay, and both of them?
One at a time.
Okay.
Come on. Bring the whole family. Come on. Yeah.
The whole.
This is the whole family. Get in. Okay. Thank you, Mike. You get a couple of these. You got to stay up there. Oh, you're gonna have to be on the other side, I think.
Okay,
Come
raise
back
your
to
right
this side.
hand. Okay, I, say your
I,
name,
Stefan Dembinski,
do hereby solemnly
do hereby solemnly
swear or affirm
swear or affirm
that I will support,
that I will support,
protect, and defend
protect, and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and the government
and the government
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state of Florida
and of the state of Florida
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
domestic or foreign,
domestic or foreign,
and that I will bear true faith,
and that I will bear true faith,
loyalty, and allegiance
loyalty, and allegiance
to the same,
to the same,
and that I will in all respects
and that I will, in all respects,
observe the provisions
observe the provisions
of the Charter
of the Charter
and ordinances
and ordinances
of the City of Daytona Beach
of
Shores,
the City of Daytona Beach Shores,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties as City
the
Commissioner
duties as City Commissioner
for the City of Daytona Beach Shores,
for the City of Daytona Beach Shores,
on which I am now about to enter.
on which I am now about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. This gets passed down to Sherry. Sherry.
This is Sherry.
Congratulations.
Okay, could you raise your right hand and put back up there?
Absolutely. Thank you for yours.
Repeat after me. I, Mark Card,
I, Mark Hard,
do hereby solemnly
do hereby solemnly
swear or affirm
swear or affirm
that I will support,
that I will support,
protect, and defend
protect, and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and the government
and the government
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state of Florida
and the state of Florida,
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
domestic or foreign,
domestic or foreign,
and that I will bear true faith,
and that I will bear true faith,
loyalty, and allegiance
loyalty, and allegiance
to the same,
to the same,
and that I will in all respects
and that I will always respect,
observe the provisions
observe the
provisions
provisions
of the Charter
of the Charter
and ordinances
and ordinances
of the City of Daytona Beach Shores,
of the City of Daytona Beach Shores,
and will faithfully
and will faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
as City Commissioner
as City Commissioner
for the City of Daytona Beach Shores,
for the City of Daytona Beach Shores,
on which I am now
on which I am now
about to enter.
about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Come with it. One more big smile. Now that's a smile.
Pass this down.
Commissioner Card. Okay, next we'll move on. We have a presentation this evening that we are going to do now, and that is to someone that's quite familiar to us, and this is Kat Atwood from Port Orange. Kat, if you'd like to come up, please.
Is your video?
I'm going to start with a short 2-minute video. Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council. That was not an error. That video is actually a silent movie. Because this disease is so unknown to so many people, I have it. It's less than 1 person in 1,000,000 in the United States, and I have it. So that being so on point, that video, my husband Ken and I have decided and made it our mission to educate others and not be so silent about it. We're going to raise awareness. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. The World Encephalitis Day 2024 is Thursday, February 22nd. That date every year is set aside for global awareness for people who have been directly or indirectly affected by this debilitating disease. There is a campaign called #RedForWed. I have papers in the back that I'm going to leave here because I just don't have the energy to make it all through the meeting. And I would appreciate it if you take one, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Since its launch, the World Encephalitis Awareness Day has reached millions of people through this RedForWed campaign. My goal was to write every mayor in Volusia County and ask them to acknowledge and write a proclamation stating that they would declare February 22nd World Encephalitis Awareness Day. Most people don't know anybody with it. Every mayor in our county knows me. Not because I'm anything special, but because I stepped down as a councilwoman in the city of Port Orange. It is our hope that recognizing World Encephalitis Awareness Day locally will play a leading role in our mission to increase awareness of encephalitis. I apologize for reading this. I used to give good speeches, but I don't have the memory anymore. It has been proven that awareness can save lives and help build better futures for people who are inflicted with this rare disease. 6 facts you should know about encephalitis. 1, it is an inflammation of the brain. 2, it is caused by a viral infection. It can also be caused by your autoimmune system attacking your own brain. That's the kind I have. It can have a high death rate, and survivors can be left with an ABI. Most people know of a TBI, but as an ABI is an acquired brain injury. The patient can experience life-changing consequences. Early diagnosis and treatment can save lives and improve outcomes. Encephalitis can impact mental health, causing it difficulty to deal with the situation. It can cause uncontrollable emotions and even erratic behavior. And it has, in fact, led to self-harm and suicide in patients who have been diagnosed. My point I want to drive home is that it can affect anybody, anytime, anywhere. I was healthy, I was at peak of fitness, I was a distance runner, and I literally fell out with a seizure one day, out of the blue. Ken and I have set a goal to inform and educate as many people as possible about this debilitating disease. If we educate others, we might be able to save another person from enduring multiple misdiagnoses. I was misdiagnosed for 11 months before my PCM and my neurologist finally got me into the Mayo in Phoenix. It was my incredible medical team in Phoenix that found my disease, named it, and told us what we had. I say we because make no mistake about it, my husband has walked every step of this journey with me for the last 18 months. I was diagnosed with autoimmune AELGI1. It is extremely rare, and it affects less than 1 person in 1,000,000. I'm going to turn to if you don't mind. Have any of you ever heard of the World Encephalitis Society? Me either. It's been around more than 30 years. Have you ever heard of World Encephalitis Day? Me either. It's been around more than 10 years, and the date's never changed. It's always February 22nd. I never knew my own immune system could attack my own brain. The World Encephalitis Society it's their purpose. They exist solely to educate medical professionals and the public so that people can identify the symptoms and conditions. So if your answer was no to any of those questions, don't feel bad. Ken and I had never heard of any of those things before. It's our mission to change that. Our objective is to educate people with the knowledge to recognize, prevent, and even manage my words don't come easily anymore, encephalitis effectively, ultimately improving patient outcomes. We strive to empower individuals affected by encephalitis by providing them with expert resources and peer connections that are so desperately needed when you live with this disease. We seek to expand understanding of encephalitis and its impact through knowledge sharing. We know we can break ground with this if people are joining our forces, and every mayor, including yours was the second one to step up and tell me, we got your back. I'm gonna leave this on the chair back there, and I'll read it to you, but take one with you, please. It says, in support of the Red for WED campaign, I'm asking our incredible community to show your support. On February 22nd, would you please consider taking a picture of you, your coworkers, your dog, I don't care, anybody in red, and share it with me. It's part of the Red for WED, WED being World Encephalitis Day campaign. And you can text them to me, email them to me, or even tag me on your social media Facebook post. All of that information is on this sheet of paper in the back. My goal is to send your photos, our photos, and every mayoral proclamation to the World Encephalitis Society that is located in the United Kingdom, to let them know that our county and our state and every municipality within our county are gonna lead the way. And by that I mean, in the United Kingdom, there are so many places that acknowledge the Red for WED and the World Encephalitis Awareness Day. And in the United States, there are two places, Niagara Falls and the city of Dallas. That's it. We're gonna change that. And with help like yours, Mayor, and all the rest of the mayors in the county, you're instrumental in making this happen, and I appreciate you very, very much. Thank you.
With that being said, Kat, I have a proclamation for you, if I could read, please. Whereas encephalitis is an inflammation of the brain, and whereas encephalitis can strike anyone, anywhere, at any time, at any age, resulting in a serious and sometimes life-threatening medical emergency. Whereas encephalitis impacts an estimate 20,000 people in the United States and 500,000 people globally each year, and whereas encephalitis leaves survivors with an acquired brain injury affecting not only the diagnosed individual, but the entire family and community at large. And whereas the 501c organization Encephalitis 411 strives to improve the quality of life for all those impacted by encephalitis, and whereas it is imperative that there be greater public awareness of this serious health issue. Now, therefore, I, Nancy Miller, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Daytona Beach Shores, do hereby declare February 22nd, 2024, an Encephalitis Awareness Day in the city of Daytona Beach Shores. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of this city to be affixed.
So much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kat. Okay. Next, we are going to go on to the approval of minutes. So this is the City Commission workshop that we had on January 9th, 2024. Do we hear a motion to accept those minutes as is?
I so move.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on those minutes? Okay, if not, Carrie, can you take a roll, please?
Vice Mayor Blightus,
Yes.
Commissioner Economos,
Yes.
Commissioner Card,
Yes.
Commissioner Dembinski,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. Going next, we will move on to the City Commission meetings of January 9th, 2024. Do I hear a motion to accept those minutes?
Also move.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion on the minutes? If not, Sherry, can you take a roll on that, please?
Commissioner Economos,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Blightus,
Yes.
Commissioner Card,
Yes.
Commissioner Dembinski,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. Okay, next, moving on to the consent agenda. We have 4 items on our consent agenda today. Do I hear a motion to accept without pulling any of those items?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on any of the 4 items? If not, Sherry, can you take a roll on that, please?
Commissioner Dembinski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Clint,
Yes.
Commissioner Carr,
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings,
Yes.
Mayor Lo.
Yes, thank you, Sherry. Okay, next, moving on to old business. This is ordinance 2024-01. Turn your voice, can you read that for us, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor. This is ordinance 2024-01, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Florida, relating to posting of numbers, addresses on properties adjacent to Atlantic Ocean Beach, amending the Municipal Code of Ordinances, Land Development Code, amending Appendix G, amending Chapter 5, Article 5, entitled Building Numerals, by amending Section 5-10 entitled Numerals to provide for the posting of building numbers, addresses east of the building for properties adjacent to the Atlantic Ocean Beach, providing for enforcement and penalties, providing for a savings provision, providing for codification, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Attorney Bose.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Welcome, new Commissioners. For the record, my name is Stuart Cruz, Community Service Director with the City of Daytona Beach Shores. I'm just going to go real quickly over this ordinance. This is second reading of this particular ordinance, 2024-01. As the title that was just read by the City Attorney stated, that this is primarily an ordinance that requires the posting of addresses on the properties east of South Atlantic Avenue adjacent to the beach. So this is primarily done to basically improve the emergency personnel response time that we have here in Daytona Beach Shores and any other law enforcement agency that might be responding to an incident on the beach. So basically, it's requiring that properties east of South Atlantic Avenue on the beach post on their seawall or on their property a sign that basically gives the address so that a lay person on the beach might be able to basically, when they're calling 911, give the address for that incident. Location. It gives 120 days, this ordinance gives 120 days for compliance, but the compliance requirement for size and the type of numerals that would be affixed only relate to new signage that is placed. So basically, if somebody has a sign on the property that doesn't meet the code doesn't come into compliance with, doesn't come into effect with regards to their property or their signage until after they've replaced it themselves. So if a seawall is not available, as I mentioned, you would be able to go ahead and post a sign on the property with the address. So since, or at the first meeting that was held earlier, or last month, I should say, the City Commission directed staff to make a few changes. And the first change was that we removed the tenant's responsibility to adhere to the ordinance, and so that has been done. In addition to that, the responsibility of the condominium association and homeowners association was added. So essentially, the unit owners in a condo or in a homeowners association wouldn't be the ones that would be liable, if the address wasn't posted. It would be the actual association. In addition to that, we added a provision that basically states that when the numerals are added to a seawall, that it has to be above tidal influence, and it basically has to be on a flat surface. But you may have seen throughout the ordinance that several times we noticed that it has to be clearly visible from the driving lanes along A1A, which is key to all of this. Staff also added a definition for workmanlike manner. The ordinance you may have seen refers to that the installation of these numbers has to be in a workmanlike manner. And so we included a definition which basically says that at a minimum, that the numbers that are affixed has to be commercially purchased numbers, and that if it is indeed painted, it has to be done with a stencil so that it looks professional as best as possible and clearly visible from the right-of-way. So with that said, staff is recommending approval with changes. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to take those.
Thank you. And I know from the dais, we did have some concerns, and I think that our Community Service Director has incorporated those.
Yes.
Is there anything else that we wanted him to add? Okay, do I hear a motion to approve ordinance 2024-01?
Also move.
I'll second.
Thank you. Becky, do we need public?
Absolutely.
Okay, great, all right, and this is a second reading. Is there anyone out in the audience that would like to speak on anything for ordinance 2024-01? Okay, Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Commissioner Cummings,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Clint,
Yes.
Commissioner Carr,
Yes.
Commissioner Dembinski,
Yes.
Mayor Lo.
Yes, thank you. Okay, next we are going to move on to the second item under old business, and that is ordinance 2024-03, sewer development impact fees. Attorney Boyce, can you read that for us, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor. This is ordinance 2024-03, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, relating to sewer service, amending the Municipal Code of Ordinances, Appendix G, Land Development Code, Section 12-4.36, entitled Development Fee, Impact Fee, providing for the amendment of sewer treatment service development fee, impact fee, to coincide with the rates established from time to time by the City of Port Orange for such rates as applicable to the City of Daytona Beach Shores, providing for legislative findings and intent, providing for implementing administrative actions, providing for a savings provision, providing for codification, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Attorney Boyce. Stuart?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. So this ordinance, second reading, basically amends the city's land development code with regards to sewer development impact fees. Sewer development impact fees are charged for new development, so existing customers are not affected by this. But a major component of the sewer development impact fee is imposed by the City of Port Orange, and the City of Daytona Beach Shores collects it as a pass-through. So whenever they change their component of the sewer development impact fee for treatment of sewer, this particular ordinance would let it happen automatically without having to bring back a new ordinance to the City Commission for approval. So again, this is upon the second reading, staff is recommending approval, and it's something that will basically facilitate the ease and efficiency of accommodating the changes that the City of Port Orange would make with regards to this fee.
Thank you, Director. Do we have any questions? If not, do I hear a motion to accept ordinance 2024-03?
So move.
Second.
I'll second.
For the record, Commissioner Card. Any discussion? Okay, again, this is a second reading. Anyone in the audience have anything that they would like to discuss on this ordinance? Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Vice Mayor Clitus,
Yes.
Commissioner Card,
Yes.
Commissioner Dembitsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. Okay, now we are going to move on to new business. The first item on our new business agenda today is a quasi-judicial regular site plan. Sherry, do you need to swear in?
Anybody who's going to speak tonight on this hearing, if you please stand and raise your right hand.
You got it.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth during tonight's hearing.
I do.
Okay, and before we begin, was there anyone on the dais that had any conversation? Okay, if not, Director?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, Vice Mayor. So this regular site plan application, RSP 1202353, is the live condos proposed for the properties located at 3635 South Atlantic Avenue and 3637 South Atlantic Avenue. The owner applicant is SA 2011 LLC and Shipra C Shore Development LLC. The property size is 1.26 acres. The property is located in our dual zoning district, which is our T-RMF-1 Hotel Motel Multifamily Residential High Density District. The future land use designation for this property in our comprehensive plan is high intensity land use. The current usage of the property, the southern portion is vacant, and you'll see that in a minute, and the northern portion is the Tuscany Villas establishment. This is a proposal for a 75-unit multifamily residential condominium development. So the property is located about 1.8 miles south of where we are right now, south of Del Mountain Boulevard, and just north of the Sun Glow Pier on the east side of South Atlantic Avenue, just south of Atlantic Terrace and north of the Current Shores south, and on the east side of South Atlantic Avenue across from Mad Dog Surf Shop. This is a street view of the property. You can see that the Tuscany Villas establishment is to the north side, and to the south side you have the overgrown property to the parcel to the south. This is a site plan of the proposal, and so what I did was I edited just so you can be a little bit clearer for the audience. You can see Again, it's a 75-unit condo. There's 2 driveway access to this property. The one on the north is for access to the deck, and the one to the south is for access to the garage. If you look at the setbacks, you'll see that all of them exceed 50 feet, and all of them are consistent with the city's land development code. This is a street view elevation of what the building would look like. In your site plan, which I submitted for the record, there's a detailed analysis of every criteria that we have in our comp plan and our land development code. And the important thing to note here is the green portion to the bottom, that the plan is consistent with the city's land development code and comprehensive plan. There are no variances associated with this property. You will see that I highlighted the number 75 up there, and the reason for that is because when this project went to the Planning and Zoning Board last month, actually earlier this month, I apologize, it was proposed as 74 units. Since then, the property owner and the developer has been able to identify room for an additional unit on the 16th floor. All the city requirements that the city has with regards to the addition of that additional unit, staff has analyzed those parameters, and all of those criteria have been met. And I can get into that if you want me to, but in general, this is just a summary to show that all the key requirements of the city's land development code and comprehensive plan are met. In addition to landscaping, of course. So one thing that you will see from this table, and you may see in your staff report, is that all the landscaping requirements have been exceeded or met. So for example, only 22 trees are required on the site, but 63 are being proposed.
And Stuart, can you go back one, the tree mix, the 3 and the 6, can you explain that to me, please?
So basically, based on the number of required trees that is associated with each development or each property, there's a certain number of types of trees that you have to have. So for example, only 22 trees are required here for this development. So we need to have, the code requires that there's 3 different types of trees.
Okay.
So in this case, they're not only meeting the 3, they're exceeding the 3 by having 6 or 3 additional tree mixers there, tree mixes there.
Sorry, so under proposed, they have 3 and required 6, or am I reading it wrong?
Oh, I'm sorry. I have it backwards. I apologize.
All right, okay.
I apologize. Oh, good eyes. Good eyes. But in the staff report, you'll see that it's actually correct, so I apologize.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you.
So in addition to the additional requirements, you'll see that the public notice requirements have been met. The requisite staff review, including review by our city engineer, has been done, and all their comments have been addressed. And as I mentioned earlier, the Planning and Zoning Board did see this application, but the application was only for 74 units. And in between then, an additional unit was added. It does not impact the footprint of the building or the site at all. And again, staff has run the analysis for the additional unit that was added in terms of concurrency requirements and in terms of other requirements that we have in our land development code, and all of those have been satisfied. So with that said, staff is recommending approval of the project as presented, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take those. And as you can see, there's a large contingency here from the proponent side.
I saw that it was going to be 16 stories. According to our code, what is the maximum that could be?
So the maximum is 16 plus 2, 18 stories.
Okay, and so there, all right, that's good. Thank you. Any other questions for our director?
When would construction?
So I'm going to leave that up to someone from the team to go ahead and speak on that. If there's any more questions, I'll be happy to take those, of course. Any more questions for staff?
No more for staff, I don't believe, if you like to bring them up. And then I also think there's someone in the public that would like to speak as well, so, okay.
Thank you, Stuart. Thanks, Mayor. Rob Merrill for the record with Cobb Cole, 149 South Ridgewood. As always, Stuart does a great job. He's one of the best in business, so it leaves me with very little to say. This is a quasi-judicial process. However, we're not here with a request for a rezoning or a comprehensive plan amendment or development agreement. This is simply a site plan. So when Stuart shows you the checking of the boxes, I think it's just kind of a great way to really show you that we hit all the marks. You know, the biggest ones are the comprehensive plan consistency and the compliance with the land development code, which he outlined for you. And Mayor, I gotta say, I'm impressed. You saw every detail and saw one little switch there, which I think all the rest of us missed. So good job.
Ask my husband, do I miss anything?
Yeah, good job. God bless you. So Jim Mack's here with me, and he's our developer. And I know you guys mostly know him. I think he's done more than a dozen projects in the shores on the ocean front. So you got a great track record. And Larry Robinson, I think Larry just whispered in my ear that he's done 35 from New Smyrna to Ormond. So you got some solid folks here doing this. And Roger Stracula, our civil engineer's here, and he's happy to answer any questions you guys have about the details. Any of them, Mayor, that you might stumble across, but we're here to answer questions. But otherwise, this thing's bulletproof, and hopefully you guys are in favor. I think you saw the architecture. Larry's great work is going to be quite an addition to the city.
Any questions from the dais?
Yes. Do you anticipate a start date?
I think Jim will say as soon as we can get this finalized. You know, we still
Really?
we have subsequent building, permit and site planning approval processes that come after this. You know, once we get this done.
Our goal is May.
Yeah.
Okay.
How long
And what's
is
the time frame? Just so we're
24 months to build it?
24 months. I'll say for the record.
Thank you.
I had someone in the audience that had asked me a question about before. Would this be the time that they could come up now
Yes.
for the public? Okay,
We're happy to come back up with the questions for
thank you.
us.
Sir, do you still have a question, or did you get yours answered? Yes, you. Would you like to come up and ask a question? Please, when you come up, please state your name and your address for us.
My name's Wayne Lamont. I live in.
Talking to the mic.
Pardon?
Talking to the mic,
Oh,
so, okay.
I'm sorry.
No,
My
that's
name's Wayne Lamont. I'm an owner of Current Shore South, one of the owners. This will butt up against us. I needed to know, one, is there going to be a fence around? Are they going to butt up with us with our seawall? That's a major thing for us, because when you have returns, they tend to fail.
We understand that
Okay,
more than
so
I'd like to, yes.
We want them to butt up right up against us, against our new seawall that we're building. Okay.
Is there someone right now that would be able to answer that question? If you'd like to come up and answer it, if you want to identify yourself, please.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Commission, Roger Stracula, Upham Inc., engineer record, 265 Kenilworth Avenue, Ormond Beach.
Great.
The seawall on the south side will butt up with our seawall. Their seawall they've just built, we're going to butt up with that seawall and have a return to go further west on it. And we're going to do the same thing on the north side of the property. And as far as, I think maybe in your packet, but on the, we're going to have landscaping along the buffers on both the north and south side. So we're going to have plantings there. We're not going to have any other wall, but the seawall does return back.
I see. Okay.
Did that answer your first question, sir?
Yes, it
And
does.
did you have one additional one?
Yeah, it did. Now.
If you want to speak in the mic so we have it on
Oh, I'm
public
sorry.
record, please.
Is it going to be fenced in at all where the pool is, or will the whole line be fenced in?
Excuse me. Yes, the pool deck area will be fenced in because of the grade differential between the top of the pool deck and the grade outside the pool deck for safety reasons and also for security.
Okay, will there be a privacy fence? That's another main concern.
There
because
will
my
not-
view is right there.
There will not be a privacy fence, there'll be landscaping.
Okay, wonderful. I had one more question.
Certainly.
I'm trying to think about it. What is, oh, okay. So.
If you could, I'm sorry, if you could speak into the mic, we need this for public record.
The area to, in the front, where when you, are you gonna fill that all in when you do the seawall? Are you gonna fill it in, because there's a big drop off there? We lost our seawall because of that.
I'm aware of that. I
Okay.
live on the beach side myself. Yeah. All of that area that was eroded from the beach is all going to be replaced once the new seawall is put in. The same thing that's been going on the properties to the north and south of the beach, and elsewhere in the shores.
Great. Did that answer all your questions, sir?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so very much.
You're very, very welcome. Director Cruz, did this ever have a seawall that was compromised? Did we have any erosion? Can you tell me a little bit more about this property?
So I believe that the property did incur some damage. Yes, it did incur some damage, but all part of the redevelopment of the property would include the securing of the property with regards to the seawall, as the engineer just mentioned.
Okay, thank you. And I have one other question for the engineer. Did you submit your permit yet to DEP for the seawall?
The permit for the seawall has been submitted. Another engineer is doing that, DMC, who's doing a lot of the other seawall designs in the shores. So that's already in the process with DEP.
Okay, so it has been
Yes.
submitted. Commissioner Economist,
I do,
question?
and it may be for Stuart. I know the developer wants to get this built as quickly and efficiently as possible, but if there's something that comes about, hurricanes, anything, and it's stalled, are there any contingencies regarding that?
So there is a Florida statute that basically stays the development time period that's required by the local government, and so that should not be an issue.
I'm just thinking of Treasure Island, so we don't,
Yes, I totally understand, but I can't remember how many years ago, I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, if I remember correctly, the legislature basically added a statute provision that basically says if you're given a year, for example, by the local government after site plan approval to basically do your construction, if there's an emergency, a declared emergency, basically the clock stops, and then not only that, you also get an additional 6 months to get back and get that timeline back in track.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Okay, if not, do I hear a motion to accept regular site plan RST?
I so move.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any further discussion or questions?
I just have one thing.
Certainly.
Look, I just want to make sure that I understand this. The developer, who we all know, there's no variances being asked for. There's nothing from the city being asked for. It fits in all our codes and all our ordinances. Am I correct on this?
Right now, under this site plan now, when we down the road, Stuart, they can still, in a development agreement, ask for additional. Can you explain that to the commissioner, please?
So, thank you for the question. So this particular proposal that you see before you meets all the requirements of the city's code from a planning and development standpoint. The comp plan, the city's land development code, there's no variances, there's no deviations, there's no development agreement attached or associated with this project. This is an entitlement process, essentially.
I've been in the city a long time. I've never seen that before.
Now, I can tell you that we have had cases in the past in which a plan has been approved, but because the engineering behind it was not that good, I hate to say that, sometimes there's site constraints that are unforeseen, and so perhaps a variance could be asked for in the future. But I've known Mr. Stracula for a very long time, worked with Larry for a very long time, and these guys are as sharp as they come.
Thanks, Stuart.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Just Commissioner Dubinsky, also, if you looked, when we were looking at the proposal, the setbacks are significantly more than what the code requires. And you see there's already landscaping, and, it's kind of what we want, something that's more aesthetically pleasing, not a cookie cutter kind of condo that maximizes the number of units to maximize the profit. So it's consistent with what we see for the city in the future. So that's why I'm agreeing to it, or will be.
Any further discussion or questions? Not Sherry? Oh, do I hear a mo?
I already moved.
Okay, can you take a roll, please, Sherry?
Yes, ma'am. Vice Mayor Pelagus?
Yes.
Commissioner Dominski?
Yes.
Commissioner Condos?
Yes.
Commissioner Card?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Next, we will go on to new business. The first thing will be Resolution 2024-03. And this is just supporting the alternative votes. Can you read that for us, please, the resolution?
Yes, Madam Mayor, this is Resolution 2024-03, a resolution of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, urging members of the Florida Legislature to support the 2024 Florida League of Cities legislative platform, providing for severability, providing for conflicting resolutions, and providing an effective date.
Okay, and basically, correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney, but this is just, we're involved with the Volusia League of Cities, and some of the items that they bring forward, we want to make sure that our residents are saying, how are you speaking on our behalf? So by doing this, this gives us the authority to speak on behalf of the Florida League of Cities. Is that correct?
You would be speaking on behalf of the City Commission.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Supporting the, okay.
Yes.
If I could get a motion to adopt this resolution?
I so move.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, are there any questions on this? Okay, if not, Sherry, can you take a roll on that, please?
Vice Mayor Clitus?
Yes.
Commissioner Card?
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to add on too, that since I am on the Board of Directors of Florida Volusia League of Cities, this was something that our president asked every city to do a resolution on. So every city in Volusia County will be bringing this forward. Thank you. Okay, next we're at a consideration of request to reduce code enforcement lien. And who is speaking on that today? Is that Gwen? Thank you, Gwen.
Esteemed city commissioners.
Good evening. I'm Gwen Herstein, the City Code Enforcement Officer Coordinator. I'm going to go to my slide. Let's get this picture. This agenda item is for the city commissioners to hear a request from the property owner of 2008 South Atlantic Avenue that you see a picture of up there on the screen, to reduce a code enforcement lien for a 2020 case brought into compliance in 2022 after 533 days from the ordered compliance date given by the code enforcement special magistrate. At that second compliance hearing to consider lien reduction, once the property was brought into compliance, Special Magistrate De La Roche reduced the accrued fines that had totaled $133,250 to $109,000 if they were paid within 6 months. That was by July 19th, 2023. The fines were not paid, so reverted to the $133,250 amount plus $234.26 in administrative costs. The order on request for reduction rescission of fines generated at that January 19th, 2023 second compliance hearing was appealed by the property owner to Circuit Court, and the Circuit Court temporarily abated that appeal to allow for tonight's reduction request to be heard by the City Commission. While not a rehearing of any of the 3 special magistrate hearings or orders, this is a request to reduce the fines from $133,250 to $11,250, plus the aforementioned fees of $234.26. That's a cost. In addition to Attorney Moore's request, you've been provided a recommendation utilizing the 6 factors specifically described in our Code of Ordinances to accompany such a request. This recommendation demonstrates a pathway to making an initial reduction to $52,187.84. I'll say that again, $52,187.84. Though I will remain available for questions, it's appropriate to give Attorney Michael Moore and his client the podium at this time to make their request.
Thank you. Attorney Moore?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, Manager Hertzlander, and Ms. Vos. If it weren't for Ms. Vos and the manager, we wouldn't be here tonight. That's my feeling. So I want to thank you guys specifically. I also wanted to thank Ms. Herstein. You know, the job of a code enforcement officer is sometimes thankless, and she didn't ask me to say that. And I want to tell you that you guys are blessed to have her working for you. And she also didn't ask me to say that. Now, having said that, I have worked with regulators previously, and Ms. Herstein is very, she's zealous and very good at what she does. And sometimes what's lost in the process is a larger perspective. And so I'm here tonight on behalf of Mr. Charles Gobiera, who's the property owner at 208 South Atlantic Avenue. And I want to present you with some equitable reasons for reducing the fine, not just from $133,000, but further from the 52,000 that the city has recommended. This property owner does not warrant a fine of $52,000 on this property. And it certainly doesn't warrant a $133,000 fine. This is the type of fine that is usually reserved for uncooperative property owners who just are in defiance of government regulatory authority, taxes, and the like. He has never had that position. He has always been cooperative and agreeable. I believe his agreeability was taken advantage of in this particular case. Even tonight, he in good faith would pay a fine of $11,250. The property also does not warrant either a $133,000 fine or a $52,000 fine. Depending on who you believe, the fair market value of the property is between $235,000 and $263,000. So a fine of $133,000 would be roughly half of that, in between 51% and 57%. So it's excessive and arguably constitutes a taking just on that basis. The nature of the violations were not serious. If you read the Officer Herstein's analysis, the fine money results from the extended period of time that the contractor was trying to get a permit to fix these issues. He began the permitting process by submitting an application in late December of 2020, and immediately ran into trouble because he hadn't, dotted all of his I's and crossed all of his T's in the permitting process. And that's a bureaucratic process, and there can be delays. There can be contractor delays. There can be delays on behalf of government. This was during a period of time of COVID. I believe that this contractor, from my review of the permitting process, I believe this contractor thought that all he had to do in Daytona Beach Shores was to submit a permit application, and that would toll the accrual of any additional fines. We now know that's not right. That is the way it works in other surrounding municipalities and with the Volusia County. And that is where there is a code violation that requires the issuance of a permit from the city or county, the accrual of those fines is tolled once they submit a permit application, because it can be a difficult bureaucratic process that requires engineers' reports, architectural reports, and the professionals on behalf of the city or the government reviewing the permit application. They'll go back and forth between the professionals working on behalf of the contractor or the contractor himself. And so there are communication delays and other delays that take place. And so the nature of the violations in this instance were not serious. And in fact, there's one that I want to draw your attention to. I don't know if I can get some help, but maybe I'll just read it to you. There were 11 violations, but violation A and D were the same. And this is from page 151, bottom of 151, and the top of 152 from our agenda tonight. And violation A is window trim is deteriorated in places and not preventing water intrusion. Violation D is very similar. It's window trim wood is deteriorated in places. D is what we sometimes refer to as a lesser included offense. And he shouldn't have been, that's double counting. And a lawyer representing him at this evidentiary hearing would have objected to that, or should have objected to that. He wasn't represented by a lawyer. He was represented by just a friend who had no expertise in these sorts of matters. And I believe that, they came in, they admitted that there were problems with the property and that they were going to fix it. And then they got a contractor to do that, and the contractor thought all they had to do was to submit an application for a permit, and that would toll the running of any fines. We now know that that didn't happen. Additionally, there was what I call a supervening event. In May of 2021, a car went through the front of the building. What that did was it caused the contractor to have to then double back, retrace his steps, and submit an additional permit application because the scope of the work that was now required to be done had increased because of the damage done by the car. And so that caused further delays. But all of these delays, whether they were caused by the contractor or the process or the delays associated with COVID or an engineer, they were all visited upon and assessed upon the property owner. And I think that's simply unfair to assess fines on the property owner associated with the permitting process. Additionally, and perhaps this is the most important thing, and this should put a smile on your face. Now, it cost him approximately $73,000 to do work, to put on a new roof, and then that cost him about $20,000 out of the 73. And then he spent about $53,000 completing the rest of the work on the property. Subsequent to that, he has since invested another $34,000 last year in renovating the inside. He took out all the drywall, put in all new drywall inside, and he has to paint it. That's going to cost him another $7,000. And here recently, last week, contractor Mr. Dennis O'Neill submitted another permit to complete the outside of the building. If you go by there right now,
Terrible.
what happened, if I can back up, early last year, in March of last year, he hired a contractor to redo the inside and redo the outside. So redo the drywall on the interior and redo the exterior stucco to make it look like a new building. And they were in the process, they had done the inside, they were in the process of pressure washing, removing layers of paint on the outside, and they were about 75% of the way done when the contractor, Stanley Holly, died. And that was at the end of October. He passed away October 28th. His widow, Paula Holly, didn't feel confident that she could get the remainder of the work, the stucco on the outside, done within the time allotted by the permit. The permit expired at the end of December, so immediately the property owner, Mr. Gobiera, he sought to contract with another contractor and eventually found Mr. O'Neill. Mr. O'Neill has now submitted a permit to complete the stucco on the outside. And I believe that permit application is pending in Mr. Edmonds' office. It may have been approved, but it may not have been. But that was last week. So I want to tell you that he spent about $73,000 on fixing the code violations and putting on a new roof. He spent another $34,000 with Mr. Holly doing the interior. He's going to spend $38,000 with Mr. Neal, so that's $145,000. He intends to, in addition to that, he intends to upgrade the electric, upgrade the HVAC, the plumbing, install new flooring, and paint the interior. That's another $64,000. Every dollar that you fine him takes away and compromises his ability to complete these upgrades. And I wish I could sit here today with the stucco done on the outside, because I could show you, I could then show you a property that looks like new, but I can't. We've requested a reduction from 133 or 52 to $11,250. That's not an insignificant sum or fine, considering that he's already invested and will invest additional monies in excess of $200,000 and upgrades to the property. And $130,000 of that was not required by the city. At any rate, I'm here to answer any questions that you have of me or Mr. Gobier. If you don't have any, again, I appreciate your time, and I'm very grateful to Ms. Foes and the manager and Ms. Herstein. Ms. Herstein's been nothing but professional to me, and she's a tribute and does a great job.
She's a gem, and we know that. Get a lot of.
Thank you very much.
So right now, Gwen, is there anything that Attorney Moore stated that you would like to, so right now I saw you nodding your head, so the permit is complete, is that correct? Okay. Just one quick question I had when he talked about A and D. Can you tell me how that's two separate, if you wouldn't mind coming up?
Certainly. Whenever we have a specific violation, in this case, A was written under, and it's serious, A was written under unsafe structures, and then the other one was written under, we called it a lesser code, but it's a different code. If it's not deemed to be an unsafe structure, it still is at issue under another section of code. And so in that way, we make sure that it's taken care of one way or the other. My retort or challenge to that is, if they had taken care of that earlier, it would have taken care of two of the listed 11 violations at the same time. So,
all right, so right now, I have a couple comments I want to make, but first I want to make sure, do we have any questions for Attorney Moore or Ms. Herstein? Don't make just questions.
No, I don't have any questions.
Any questions to clarify?
I do. Well, actually, just what are the owner's plans for the property in the immediate future?
That's a good question. He would like to lease it out. And he's challenged, and I don't know, you can't really tell, but the only parking is 1, 2, 3, those 4 places in the front, and then there are 3 parking spots in the back. He would like to lease it out as a storefront once he's done, but it might have a small market for that because of the parking.
Are there any plans to sell the property?
He has considered selling it, but it has the same challenge with respect to the parking, and so he hasn't tested the market, so to speak, and so he doesn't know. May not be successful either way.
My understanding is it's been vacant for 17 years, is that correct?
I think
Since
that's
2000.
right.
Okay,
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
all right. Any other follow-up questions?
Yeah. Now, it sounds like a lot of work
Yeah.
has already been done to it, to the interior and everything.
The interior has been totally redone, and he wants to upgrade the electric on the interior and upgrade the HVAC and put in tile, and so that hasn't been done.
Now, the valuation of the building, I believe I read somewhere, was $238,662.
That sounds like on the low end. Ms. Herstein could verify this for us.
I was
but
going to say,
that's
that
on
was
the-
before the work has been done.
Yes.
So it would be, you would agree that it's worth much more now than all that work has been done?
Well, no, that's the value from the county, that sounds like the value from the county property appraiser's office. If you go to Zillow, it says something like 263 or something like that.
Any other questions?
But again, a significant amount of work has been done, so that would have increased the value of the property. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, yes. And I really think that the stucco will increase it a lot more because the stucco addresses the aesthetics on the outside. And if that building suffers, it suffers from an aesthetics problem. I don't know if the city would agree with me on that, but that's my impression.
No, that's.
Commissioners? Okay. Well, I'm just going to go over and say that, you know, when I saw this, well, first of all, when you talk about Ms. Herstein, she has numerous amount of manpower hours that she has put into this. Following this, 533 days, been the mayor here 5 years and have never heard of anything that long. So we'll start out with that. Not only has Ms. Herstein had to put immense hours in that, her manager, the director, her city manager, our attorney and myself have reviewed this case over and over again. To me, this is a blatant slap in the face to the city of Daytona Beach Shores and the neighbors surrounding that area, that they have to look at something like that. They are trying, across the street, people are trying to rent out their properties, their hotels, their condos. They have gone through, you know, I feel bad about the death, about the car hitting in, but the people across the street have seawalls and have some of their property, their pools, that are compromised. So, you know, to me, this is a cost of doing business. You say that these weren't serious. Why weren't they fixed if they weren't serious? I did take the liberty of watching the code enforcement from the 19th. So we talk about not getting permits. This is the same as when you go to DEP. You put in a permit and they say, you don't have everything you need. We need X, Y, and Z. My understanding is that's what happened. A permit was required, and Gwen came back, or whoever came back, and said, this is not complete. We need X, Y, and Z. It is not the city's fault how long it takes for you to get X, Y, Z to them. I see the documented times. That was 5 times that we said, your permit is not complete. We need this. Also, the special magistrate that day was trying, he did a very good job of how many days was it the city's fault? And they added in days. Well, the permit wasn't there for 7 to 10 days. Ms. Herstein had documented proof that they called the contractor and said, the permit is ready today, come and pick it up. Not our fault when you don't come to pick it up. Again, I'm just very, very appalled that we have to have a business looking like this, vacant for 17 years. I don't feel like anything was done to get it back to speed. And then when I go by there and I see the look of it, I'm even more embarrassed that it's a business in Daytona Beach Shores. So that's how I feel. Any other comments now? Vice
Your
Mayor?
Honor, Madam Mayor, I have had businesses. These men are trying to support their families. Sometimes these are investments, sometimes they're locations for gift shops or whatever it is. However, I think it's premature for us to consider any request. And the reason why is I'm a tree forest kind of guy. I look at the forest. The trees about the nitpicking A or D, that the violations were substantial. Yeah, that all is in the record and all that has been addressed in the planning and the magistrate and all that. What I'd like to see is, let's not grant any request. Let's see what the owner will do, and hopefully they will continue to spend the monies to restore the building, because right now they don't even have clean hands. They come in here, there's still code violations. It's still vacant, it's still blighted. So let's see what good faith will occur, and then hopefully it'll either be offered for sale or lease or the combination of both. With a lease, now you've got a new tenant that has an idea for a business that's something that's suitable to the city of Daytona Beach Shores, or you sell it, and an investor comes in and says, okay, I'm going to make a run at it with my particular business. Then I would consider a request for a reduction, seeing that everything is done, everything's been compliant. So I think it's a little too premature to say, hey, I need a discount on my fines, but I'm not done yet, and I really don't know what I want to do in the future. And so I just think, for me, I don't feel comfortable in considering a request at this time.
Okay, and if I could go on, okay. Vice Mayor, they had 533 days to do this. Why would we, this is setting a precedence for any, for Ms. Herstein that does her job, and we've hired her to be our code enforcement officer. She is more than fair. She would not have any violations. No, I don't feel like we should give them any more time. It's been empty for 17 years. So again, that's my feeling. Commissioner Economist, you have another feeling on it.
One of the things that we need to consider is this was previously in the circuit court, and I believe the circuit judge kind of continued this or punted toward us to see if we can come to a resolution, and that happens all the time. I've seen it happen thousands of times. Because again, courts are very busy. They want to see if we can resolve this and not take the court's time, and I think that's perfectly acceptable. However, I absolutely 100% agree with the Vice Mayor. Again, I think, I know the court's going to be looking at this to see what we did, see what we considered, and if we can come to a resolution, fine. But again, I think this is premature as well. I wanted to ask Gwen if it's my understanding all of the code violations have been satisfied, but are there new violations now?
Excuse me,
Attorney Moore, sorry about that.
Sorry.
This case is being considered right now, and the last of the orders from the magistrate is what's being appealed to the circuit court. It was temporarily abated. This is the last hearing that the city commission could hear this reduction request within the 90-day abatement granted by the circuit court.
Yeah.
So that while there are additional issues currently with the property, the Attorney Moore did state correctly that they had a permit to scrape off all of the paint and the stucco and start over with that surface. The contractor of record passed, unfortunately, and so it's been left in that situation that looks frankly terrible, but it was done under an active permit. Really the matter in front of you at the moment, unfortunately, I wish we could say, let's base this reduction on something else, on what's going to happen in the future. But unfortunately, if the city commission, and please correct me if you'd like to, if the city commission does not address this matter and or either chooses not to reduce or reduces in some manner, it will go immediately back. We're almost at the end of that 90-day abatement period. It will go back to the circuit court. So either the property owner will be satisfied by the reduction that's granted, or it will go back and the circuit court will then do whatever they choose to do.
Let me ask you, so the 90-day continuance, we're coming up on that. This is the last meeting before that?
Yes.
So why are we just hearing this now and not 90 days ago?
The request was submitted, it was right around the holidays when response was made to Attorney Moore about whether he'd like to use a previous request application that he submitted or submitted a renewed one based on current circumstances. I don't want to speak for him, but he did say he wanted the property to be further along with what they were going to do, possibly for this reason that you're considering and the way that you're looking at it right now and seeing it. He told me that he was considering going back before the circuit court to ask for an extension. And then I gave him timeframes for it to be heard at the last meeting, the first one in January, or this one. And he did submit a renewed refreshed request and paperwork on the last day of the, which is fine, but that he could have. So I can't answer that, except that we did think for a time that they were going to ask for an extension themselves, which we told them we wouldn't get in the way of. We would support.
Now, I'm sorry. Now again, I can't speak for everybody on this dais, but again, the most important thing in my mind is that they've actually made the repairs and they've spent money doing this. That's what we want. That's the number one goal of compliance.
And this case was brought into compliance, or you wouldn't be hearing it at all.
Correct. And again, I understand it's taken a long time, but again, if we don't resolve this, now again, I agree with Vice Mayor, I don't think it's appropriate for us to do this. I understand we're coming against time constraints. I don't know if Attorney Moore can ask for a continuance with the circuit judge and bring this back to us again in maybe another month or so. That's what I would actually prefer, but again, we cannot predict what a judge will do, if a judge will grant a continuance or not, and I know Attorney Moore can't do that. But again, the most important thing in my mind is that they have complied with this. So I would be amenable to some reduction. I know you came up with a formula. I came up with a formula last night, just, nothing scientific. It was basically based off the $133,250 minus what they've actually spent. That's probably more than what you came up with. Again, we don't have to agree to that either. That's just a number that's thrown out there. But again, maybe Attorney Moore could come up again and give us his opinion whether or not he thinks it's feasible, if they can get a continuance again, and we can maybe move this along.
If I could just make a comment. I obviously cannot speak for a judge, But if we went in with a joint motion, it is typical for a court to, you know, faced with two attorneys saying, we think we can work it out, give us some more time. They are very busy, so they would, likely, we could get more time.
I agree with Ms. Foes. Neither one of us can guarantee anything, but there's a likelihood that they would give us, I was thinking 6 months. And a month is probably not enough time to make any significant improvement. But Mr. O'Neill has a pending permit application to do the stucco. And in a month or 2 months, if it's approved, and I have no reason to think it won't be approved because Mr. Holly's permit for the same work was approved very quickly. And I think within a month or 2 months, if he gets the stucco up on the outside, maybe you guys will have a better feeling about it. And so I don't know if we can get 6 months, but I think 3 months, another abeyance of 3 months so that we could do the stucco work and show you instead of telling you, that might give everybody you know, a better feeling.
And I understand compliance is what we want, and we got here too, but again, our special magistrate goes over and above, you know, reducing this from 133. So this fine did not start out at 133. I mean, this is months after months after months of not, I mean, if they would have taken care of the issues at the beginning, it wouldn't have even gotten to the 133. Is that correct? I mean, if it would have been taken care of. Okay. So, you know, it's not that it came to 133 except for the $250 a day fines that are incurred when you aren't in compliance. The special magistrate was very firm in January. They gave him 6 months to pay, which would have been July 2023. Or it would have reverted back. So it could have been the $109,000. So I can't make a motion. I know that our city manager did the formula of 53. I'm understanding that that wasn't anything that you wanted to accept. So I'm at the point right now, you know, and I want to hear from everyone that I will reduce it, the $11,250 that you thought you wanted down to $97,250. And, you know, that is all that I would probably go, but I can't make a motion, so.
I'm sorry, what was your last statement, Madam Mayor? What did you said you would be willing to reduce it to the 11,000?
No, I'd be willing to take the 11,000 off that they were asking reduced to. Yes, go ahead.
What I'd like to say is this, I was given a file, because this is my second official meeting, and it took me a long time. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Oh, I don't want to start that now.
Yeah.
So, this is a long file. This has been going on for years, and that property has been unoccupied as long as I can remember.
17 years.
17 years. I was quite frankly surprised that code enforcement and the manager decided to reduce the fines as much as they did. I read your formula, Gwen, you make a good point, but at the end of the day, if we all of a sudden start just saying, well, it doesn't matter how long it takes, you come into compliance 5 years from the time we do it, and we'll go ahead and absolve you of any fine or whatever, we're kind of defeating what the purpose of code enforcement is, which is to keep our city, as the mayor said, a valuable place to be and a place where hotels can rent rooms and not have to look at eyesores. This went on for far too long. And I'm going to make a motion that we accept the reduction that the code enforcement and the manager have said, the $52,187.84. I'd accept that based on their recommendation. I was actually going to come in here tonight and say I didn't think we should reduce it at all. You put the city through a tremendous amount of staff work, a tremendous amount of paperwork. Is here, and I spent a lot of time reading, trying to catch up, and obviously I've seen this business every day when I drive by, or non-business. So I'm going to make a motion that we accept the reduction that the code enforcement and manager have come up with, the $52,187.84, and that's where I'm standing. Did I give it wrong, Becky?
No, you didn't get it wrong at all. But what I'm What I'm suggesting is you need to give a time frame in which it needs to be paid. Because otherwise, it has no teeth whatsoever.
Can we have more discussion on this?
Certainly. Oh, okay.
Now, the other thing is, we have to understand.
Well, wait, let him finish his motion.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And your motion would be by what date?
90 days?
Hold on, I get,
With a 90-day time frame. You're not allowed to beat me over the head with this. Oh,
If you
my
turn
mic
it on,
button
it works better.
All right, good. I know.
it's okay, it's the first time, don't worry.
Now,
Okay, and so 90 days, so that's your motion? To be paid in 90 days from today?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All right, discussion?
yes. Now, this, even if this motion passes, and I totally respect it and don't necessarily disagree with it, this is not the end of it. They're going to go back to the circuit court, and the judge is likely to make a decision.
Absolutely.
And it may be less than $52,000. It could be more, we don't know. So as long as everybody understands that, but again,
Absolutely. And I'm hoping that a judge would look to see, from 133, if he has the motion of 52, the number of days, our code enforcement officer, but I do understand it could go either way. Does everyone understand that? Okay. And so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Now again, I understand this has gone on a long time. Can I ask Attorney Moore a
Certainly.
question? Attorney Moore, I understand your client's position. They don't want to agree to that. But if things changed and they ultimately did, is 90 days a feasible amount of time for them to pay that?
I honestly don't know. And I was serious about the compromising. He has another $60,000 worth of upgrades that he wants to do, and so he would have to table those. And and I don't know if this matters to you or any of the other commissioners or the mayor, but the good news is that he's got the money to do the outside, and so maybe that's just putting a Band-Aid on it for the time being and buying some time. I hope I answered your question.
You did. Thank you.
Yeah, we'd like to see this property up to what we're used to in the shores and occupied. We don't want any empty storefronts. Let me step back to when I was running for mayor, and I would go around and talk to the citizens. One of the number one things they said was the west side, especially the northwest side. So that's the area that they wanted us to focus on. Right now, we have a economic development that we lease properties when someone comes in. We try to sway them to that area of town because we would like to see our properties occupied and looking well. People seem to revert back to the other end of town, and this is one of the reasons why. And I think everyone knows here that they've talked to residents that that's the area that we want to focus on. So right now, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, Sherry, can you take a roll?
Commissioner Dembinski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Platus?
Yes.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Conlon?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
No, that's way too low. No, thank you.
I will prepare an order tomorrow for the mayor's signature.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you very much for your time. Oh, thank you. God bless.
Okay, next we are going to go on. So right now, in the city, we have one of our commissioners, and this was Commissioner Lindauer, that was assigned to our Economic Development Liaison. So this person, when someone first comes into town, a contractor, some that want to take advantage of our lease subsidy program, we have somebody from our commission assigned to that, along with our Economic Development Manager, Nancy Maddox, our city manager, our director. So right now, we are looking for a motion to appoint one of our commissioners to this Economic Development Liaison Board. Do I hear anyone's name? I hear a motion.
Now again, I am happy to appoint somebody. I have two people in mind. I know Vice Mayor is extremely busy, and he's already on the, is it TPO?
Yeah, but what does this require? What is this particular liaison's job responsibilities and commitments?
Okay, city manager, so it could be a lot if there's a lot coming in. It could be not so much if a lot's not coming in. But can you give an example of what it might have been in the past 2 years, City Manager?
So the last year and a half, 2 years, I want to say we've met less than a dozen times. Usually it's to consider, the mayor mentioned our lease subsidies that we have to entice businesses to come in. But it's also when projects come before us, if they are asking for a development agreement, that committee meets and discusses, and that can get intensive at some times. Back when we did Treasure Island, we were meeting almost every week, but the last year it's been very quiet. We don't have that many things happening. We do have another project coming up that we will need to have a meeting within the next month. I'm assuming that's going to be one meeting. It may turn into 2 meetings, but that will be for the committee to give a recommendation on that particular project. But overall, unless we have a large condo project coming in, it's just the lease subsidies, and most of those meetings probably take half an hour to an hour at most.
Based on that, do you have someone you would like to
I do. Now, again, I know Vice Mayor would do a fantastic job, but again, I know he's busy.
No, I'd be willing to do it,
So,
if you're willing to move to appoint me.
now what about the TPO?
Well, I guess I'm going to do that too. It's not a problem.
Okay, let me ask first, is there anyone else that might be interested in doing this?
I would be interested also.
Okay.
Let's give Mark a shot at it.
Okay. All right,
I
would
know
you
you've
like
got a lot
to?
of
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
could you do that?
Yes, and
Okay.
again, I think he would, in addition to Vice Mayor, I think he would be a good fit. He's been a business leader for 20-plus years in this community, works with the Chamber of Commerce, so I think he would be a good fit for that. So.
Great. Okay, do we have to take a vote on that?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, Sherry, can you take a roll, please? And this is to have Commissioner Card be our Economic Development Liaison.
And for the record, I'll second Chris's motion.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Sherry, can you take a roll now?
Commissioner Conrose?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Plitus?
Yes.
Commissioner Card?
Yes.
Commissioner Dembinski?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes. Congratulations, Commissioner.
Congratulations.
City Attorney, do you have any comments for us this evening?
I just wanted to welcome the 2 new commissioners, and please do not hesitate to call me about anything on the agenda, about anything. It does not increase my bill. I'm on a flat fee, so.
Anything else? Any questions for our attorney? Okay, City Manager, do you have anything for us this evening?
No comments this
Okay,
evening.
thank you. City Manager, can you follow up? I know the last time that we were here, you were waiting for bids on the wraps for the FP&L. And by the way, could Miss Billy Wheeler stand up? She doesn't have to talk, just stand up. Billy was the first one that brought it to our attention about the wraps. So I'm thinking that was a year and a half, 2 years ago, Billy, so we're on it. So can you give us an update on the FP&L bids that you got back?
Yes, Stuart Cruz is reviewing those bids. There was one that came in kind of low. We've had that on a couple of bids lately, that one came in reasonably low. But you should see that on the next agenda at the first meeting.
Okay, great. Any questions for our city manager? All right, next we have council comments. So we will start out with Commissioner Dembinski. What do you have for us this evening?
Thank you for the warm welcome. I'm do the best I can here.
Thank you. Commissioner Card?
Same thing. I appreciate the city staff has helped me out tremendously. I'm really the newest one up here. The Commissioner Dembinski's been up here for the last 30 years, so it's a learning curve for me, but I appreciate it.
We'll be here for you. Vice Mayor?
Oh, well, of course, we're going to welcome Commissioner Card and Commissioner Dembinski to the City Commission. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. And thanks to the residents. I mean, we had a really good turnout.
We did.
Both the ones that could be here in chambers, but also the ones that are joining us on the internet and whatever that does. We have a TPA meeting tomorrow, so I will be attending tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock out in the airport. And it's a nice agenda. I reviewed it in my office. So there's some exciting projects coming to the community. And a little birdie told me that my buddy Brad Pitt's going to be here to film here in the Shores.
Pappas.
Yeah, well, he's also going to be at Pappas Drive-In, so that's kind of excitement. So it kind of dovetails into the race weekend that we're having, and then Speed Week's coming up in a couple of weeks.
Right.
So thank you.
Commissioner
I
Thomas?
just wanted to welcome the two new commissioners and looking forward to working with you both.
Great. Okay, again, our next meeting will be on February 13th, but I wanted to remind you again that Coffee with the Mayor will be moved to 9 a.m. that morning. We will be going to a State of the County in DeLand. We wanted to make, or Deltona or DeLand? Deltona. We wanted to make sure that we had enough time to get over there, so mark your calendars for that 9 o'clock. And the Coffee with the Mayor, we always get over 100 people, depending on the speaker, sometimes 150. But again, I want to encourage you, like you did come this evening, tuning in, come here too. This shows you how government works. You saw that all of your commissioners and myself do not agree on everything, but that's what makes up the diversity of the city. So thank you for coming this evening. I hope you continue to come. I don't have any forms for audience comments this evening. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? If not, what items? Oh, Mel, I'm sorry. Come and state your name, young man. And your address. And fill out a form when you're through.
Well, Lindauer, 2958 Sealed Circle, Daytona Beach Shores. I'd just like to applaud the mayor for having the guts to stand up to that ungodly request for the lowering of the, this problem has been going on for years and years and years. People now, we've set a precedent, all you gotta do is, doesn't matter what, we can ignore anything, we can go before the magistrate, doesn't matter what she says. We come here, and you guys are gonna let them off the hook. I think that was a terrible mistake. It's just encouraging other people to do the same, and I applaud the mayor for saying no on that reduction, and I'm sad to see that the others didn't stand up and make sure that you send a message to people in the city that you do what's right or you're gonna pay. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mel. Appreciate it. Anyone else have any other comments? Okay, if there's no other comments, what items do we have for the next agenda? Okay, if not, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much for coming today.